as our next Vice President of the United States. Let's go win.
Please welcome United States Representative Alyssa Slotkin.
Service, the original OG, first woman elected from the state of Michigan at the federal level. Okay, we are running late, so I'm gonna do this quickly. What a beautiful night. Okay. I'm Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin. I am proud to be the nominee for the U.S. Senate seat in November. We all know we have a job to do this November. We all know that Michigan is where you come to get things done. And we know that we invented the concept of the middle class, where you could work at an auto plant and afford the car that you were buying. That was a radical concept that we invented. And the Midwest has been on display. Right? The Midwest has been on display. People are here, everyone is here because they know how important we are in this election to keep the White House, to flip the House, and to keep the U.S. Senate. And I think we have actually a very interesting story going on here because we have a Midwesterner on the VP slot on both sides, right? Interesting.
This is how I use AI to optimize my schedule. What if I told you that 80% of your results come from...
We are continuing to follow breaking news in our world lead. 3 upcoming Taylor Swift concerts in Vienna, Austria have been canceled after Austrian authorities arrested 2 suspects who they say had plans to carry out a terrorist attack at the concert site. That's according to the promoter for the show. So let's bring in CNN security correspondent, former FBI counterterrorism agent Josh Campbell, as well as CNN senior national security analyst Julia Kahn. Josh, what do we know about these 2 suspects who were arrested and what kind of attack they were allegedly planning?
Yeah, Jake, so this reporting comes from our colleague Zahid Mahmoud in London. Essentially what police are saying is that these two individuals were arrested in connection with an alleged terror plot. Singer Taylor Swift obviously has her large-scale touring events that were scheduled to take place. 3 of those concerts have been canceled due to this potential threat. What we're learning from authorities is that one of these suspects is a 19-year-old man that authorities believe was radicalized online and has pledged some type of allegiance to the so-called Islamic State. And of course, all of us who've covered these terrorism cases over the last decade, 2 decades, know that this is the playbook that these terror groups often go to, is trying to find people online. It's much more difficult, much more risky for them to gather operatives to send places, a lot easier for them to try to use the internet to try to radicalize people. It looks as though, at least according to police, that is what is happening here. And finally, as we look at a concert venue, obviously that has itself a potential symbolic type of attribute to it. We've seen in the past that there have been large-scale concerts in Europe that were attacked. It was obviously back in May of 2017, a bombing at a concert where singer Ariana Grande was performing. Obviously in 2015 in Paris, there were a number of events there, including the stadium that was attacked as well. And so anytime you have people that are gathering in these large-scale venues, that could be a potential terrorist threat. And finally, it's worth noting that we've seen at many concerts, including with Taylor Swift, that you can actually protect the inside. You can send people through metal detectors and the like, but these concerts often have large gatherings outside as well. So a lot of risk there, especially when you have a potential plot underway. Here, the concert promoter opting to cancel all these concerts.
And Juliet, more than 50,000 people were expected to attend Swift's shows each night in Vienna. How do authorities manage to keep events at this scale safe?
So generally, it's just the typical layer defense. We always like a specific place, a specific time, because it is a way that you can then sort of layer your resources, whether it's surveillance on the outside, metal detectors on your way in, police officers, drones. Just think of sort of your regular mega event planning. As you know, as just at the Olympics, it's the same thing. You've got like lots and lots of capacity. So I want to tell you sort of my, having been in this field, 2 things happened, or 2 things went into the calculation of why they decided to cancel. Either the Taylor Swift people were not getting enough information from public authorities and law enforcement officials to feel satisfied that not only the crowd was protected, but certainly Taylor Swift was protected, or they were told information and it was scary enough that they decided we're just going to sort of let things subside for a little bit. We certainly don't know the nature of the planning, how far along it was. Was it a bunch of guys just talking and trying to collect things, or was it very serious? But for her to cancel and all the rippling effects that has throughout, basically, let's just say the economy, right? Just how big she is now means that they did not feel satisfied for either the crowd or the VIP Taylor Swift.
Pretty chilling.
Made-in format clothes have my favorite intimates. The new collection called Luxe Essentials has the perfect bra for all-day comfort, and it's perfect for any occasion. The Luxe Essential under.
If it's Wednesday, the Harris Walls Battleground Blitz begins with back-to-back rallies in the crucial swing states of Wisconsin and Michigan as the race for the White House and the race to define the Democratic ticket heats up. Plus, Missouri Democrat Cori Bush becomes the 2nd member of House Progressive's so-called squad to suffer a bruising and expensive primary defeat to a Democratic opponent backed by a powerful pro-Israel group. And the Biden administration rushes to ease simmering tensions in the Middle East as Iran and its proxies vow to retaliate against Israel after the assassinations of top Hamas and Hezbollah leaders. Welcome to Meet the Press Now. I'm Kristen Welker. The race is on to define the new Democratic ticket. As that new ticket hits the trail, this was the scene just moments ago in Wisconsin as Vice President Harris and her new running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, holding rallies today in two critical Midwestern swing states. The Republican VP nominee, J.D. Vance, is also in those same two states today. The Vance plane, in fact, could even be seen taxiing on the runway right behind Air Force Two at the airport in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It comes as the Harris campaign hopes to build on Democratic enthusiasm and momentum, while the Trump campaign experiments with new lines of attack. In Eau Claire, the vice president echoing her newly minted running mate in front of an energized crowd as she made campaign promises on unions and health care.
Understand, in this fight, as Tim Walz likes to point out, we are joyful warriors. Joyful warriors.
It comes after Harris introduced Walz for the first time at a raucous rally in Philadelphia, leading into a message launched by the Harris team on day one of the campaign book.
Tim and I have a message for Trump and others who want to turn back the clock on our fundamental freedoms. We're not going back.
Old enough to remember when it was Republicans who were talking about freedom. It turns out now what they meant was the government should be free to invade your doctor's office. In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make. There's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
Also trotting out an attack line that has become a favorite of Democrats in the last 2 weeks, calling Trump and Vance, quote, creepy and weird. Today, the Trump campaign hitting back in a phone interview this morning. In fact, the former president calling Walz, quote, very liberal, while claiming that his selection over Pennsylvania's Jewish governor Josh Shapiro was proof of anti-Semitism inside the Democratic Party.
This is a shocking, let me tell you, this is a shocking pick. And I think it's very insulting to Jewish people, and I think it's very insulting to people that want security. I think it's very insulting to anything having to do with making America great again.
The Harris campaign and her supporters say those accusations are patently false. Meanwhile, in Michigan, Donald Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, a Marine veteran, laying into Walz's military service.
When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I wonder, Tim Walz, when were you ever in war? When was this, what was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day in a combat zone? What bothers me about Tim Walz is the stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something that you're not. I'd be ashamed if I was him and I lied about my military service like he did.
Well, the Harris campaign is responding this afternoon, writing in a statement, quote, after 24 years of military service, Governor Walz retired in 2005 and ran for Congress, where he chaired Veterans Affairs and was a tireless advocate for our men and women in uniform. We have a big team of reporters starting us off today. Shaquille Brewster is on the ground in Wisconsin following the Harris-Walz rally earlier today. Garrett Hake is in Michigan, where J.D. Vance is campaigning. Also with me is NBC News Washington correspondent Yamiche Alcindor. Shaq, let me start with you. You were at the rally in Eau Claire this afternoon. Talk about the enthusiasm on day two after this Democratic ticket has been unveiled.
Well, Kristen, I'll tell you, among the core supporters here, the people who braved the long lines, who came out and dealt with the heat, there was tremendous energy and enthusiasm around this new ticket. I'll tell you, there were people who were wearing homemade signs that you could tell they made in the past 24 hours because it had the name of both Harris and Walz. You had people who said that they were taking off work to come here. And look, you see this kind of energy with rallies like this. These are things that you normally hear, but when you talk to people, they say this is not how they felt just 2.5 weeks ago. They feel like they have a chance to win this election, and everyone feels as if it's going to be close. But among the supporters, the people who are out here, they feel a new sense of excitement and enthusiasm. And you see that working its way up throughout the campaign. I'll tell you, the campaign said about 12,000 people were here. There's no way to confirm that independently, but there's not just those numbers, but we do know that they raised about $36 million in the 24 hours after Governor Walz was announced as the running mate. When you talk to local Wisconsin Democrats, they're saying their volunteer numbers, their door-knocking numbers are reaching levels that they just haven't seen. So when you talk about the enthusiasm, that translates to energy, that translates to a ground game, and you have a lot of Democrats now feeling much more positively than they did just a couple of weeks ago.
Well, Shaq, speaking of positivity, a lot of people are taking note of the messaging that we are hearing from Vice President Harris, from Governor Walz. They've been using words like joy. What is the strategy there, and what can we anticipate moving forward?
You certainly hear a few things, and one, we know that in terms of this vice presidential pick, there are a lot of people who are frankly unfamiliar with him or have only heard one piece of his biography. So a lot of what we heard on stage was still that introduction for people here in Wisconsin. Look, this is almost a homecoming for Governor Walz because, we're right along, not far from Minnesota. We're right along that border. So there was his family here that he acknowledged when he said, Minnesotans, are you in the crowd? I almost want to say the majority of the crowd cheered and raised their hands. So you had a sense that this was a crowd that knew him. But when I talked to people, they didn't know much about him. They're still learning about him. And that
I don't always have 1 to 2 hours in my day to actually prepare a meal and then clean up after. Sometimes I don't want to go out. I don't want to deal with the line, the grocery store, waiting for a table to eat at a restaurant. People call Community a meal service.
And it is, but it's so much more.
The beauty of Community is that I get restaurant-style meals in the comfort of my own home without any of the pressure.
It's just way...
As we head into the general election, we wanted to dive deeper into where Vice President Harris and former President Trump stand on some major issues, starting today with abortion rights. Harris has made reproductive health care a cornerstone of her political career, arguably more so than President Joe Biden. Over the last year, Harris has traveled to multiple states as part of a national reproductive freedom healthcare providers and advocates, according to the White House. Earlier this year, she actually became the first vice president to visit the Harris wants to codify the federal protections that were in place before ensuring access to medications, emergency care, as well as the ability to...
Firefighters are tackling the fire that sent smoke billowing into the air after Eastern Travis County.
This is what the area looks like right now from our tower cameras. This fire is burning near Highway 290 and Harris Branch Parkway. Let's bring in KVU's Jessica Shaw, who is live near the fire right now. Jessica, what are you seeing? What are you smelling out there?
Well, Nisha, when we arrived to this area just a couple of hours ago, all you could see was a massive tower of thick black smoke rising into the air. Now, off into the distance, you can still see fire crews fighting the flames at what is from the Austin Metal and Iron, which is a metal recycling plant on Decker Lane. Now, just around the corner from here, law enforcement has blocked off the entrance to the plant, but earlier we saw dozens of cars pulling off the side of the road onto the shoulder just to catch a glimpse of what is going on here. Now, AFD, which is Austin Fire Department, told us earlier that the fire was reported around 2:19 in the afternoon. They say Travis County ESD number 2 and 12 crews are assisting to try to put out what seems to be a large trash fire. This plant is near other industrial complexes, metal companies, recycling companies, and solar panel suppliers. Now, the smoke's color is starting to clear up. You can see it's now a grayish color and not as black anymore. AFD does tell us that there's no telling how much longer it's going to take to put this fire out. But first responders are asking that if you do see this smoke, know that they are already handling it, so there is no need to call 911. Live in Eastern Travis County, Jessica Cha, KVU News.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And I know that fighting that fire out there has got to be just an ordeal for the firefighters.
At Grainger, we have over 1 million products, including the ones that help keep your workplace safe and sound. Shop our vast inventory of safety.
An emergency meeting of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation is being held today to discuss the assassination of Hamas's political leader. Meanwhile, the U.S. has sent more fighter jets to an unnamed military partner in the Middle East as Israel braces for a major retaliation by Iran and Hezbollah. CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio joins us now from Tel Aviv. Ramy, talk to us about the impact that this meeting is going to have on the region.
Right, hi, Lana. Yes, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, otherwise known as the OIC, right now in an emergency meeting. They say it is in an open-ended meeting, so it's not sure how long they will continue to talk, to discuss, to debate. But at the heart of it, this voice for Muslim countries, as they position themselves, are, of course, talking about the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, the now dead political leader of its political wing of Hamas, and also the threat, the expected retaliation we have been waiting for the past few days. Still, it has not yet happened. They will likely be talking about potentially de-escalating tensions in the region. There will no doubt be some sympathy and anger for there will also likely be hopes that because as many all-out
So there are also but Mia, the political leader of Hamas, is working on trying to negotiate a ceasefire and return of
mastermind of October 7th, was and continues to be the head of Hamas in Gaza, but now he has been elevated to be the head of the political wing of Hamas. That, of course, was taken up by Ismail Haniyeh until he was assassinated. In terms of the U.S. reaction, though, Washington is trying to put some kind of positive responsibility on Yahya Sinwar. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken they said that now it is basically on the shoulders of Yahya Sinwar to find and negotiate a ceasefire deal, a hostage deal as well with Israel and with other partner countries. The flip side of it, though, is that while Ismail Haniyeh was widely considered to be a moderate, Sinwar is enemy number one of Israel, and there is a concern, there's a fear that actually by his elevation, by his succession, he might actually take a more hard-line stance in peace talks. So we just don't know, but again, the U.S. is trying to spin it positively and say, hey, this is on your shoulders, now it's your turn to come up and to try to negotiate this ceasefire.
Beyond your wildest imagination, with multi-player battles in virtual realms, if you wield the power of Wi-Fi 16. I got to go find them.
And as Perry just mentioned, people are looking into Wall's time as Minnesota governor, especially in response to protests after the murder of George Floyd. This morning, our Verify team took a closer look at a campaign speech in Minnesota Saturday. Former President Trump claims that it was he who took action, not Wall. Listen.
I couldn't get your governor to act. He's supposed to call in the National Guard or the Army, and he didn't do it. I couldn't get your governor. So I sent in the National Guard to save Minneapolis.
Okay, well, let's check that out. Is it true? Using these sources, we can verify that no, they're not true. Trump's claims are once again false. On May 28, 2020, 3 days after a police officer killed Floyd during the protest, Walls signed an executive order activating the National Guard. That same day, the National Guard responded, saying they were prepared to answer Wall's request. The Guard sent 500 soldiers to St. Paul and surrounding communities. It wasn't until after that deployment that then President Trump posted on social media threatening to send the Guard, who was already there, if Democratic Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry did not, quote, get his act successful. Again, we can verify the Guard had already reflected and was already there to respond to the protest. And the cyclists say, started, so that you want to verify, we'd like to verify it. 512-459-9442 is the number you can text right there. Again, 512-459-9442. Love to do it.
At noon this morning, this fall, Lockhart voters will decide if they want low-level marijuana possession to be enforced. Most of the time, this is referred to as decriminalization. So to get it on the ballot, hundreds of residents have already signed a petition in favor of the measure. But Tuesday night, it took hours for city council members and advocacy groups to agree on what the measure would look like on the ballot. Before the official 6-1 vote in favor of putting a condensed version of their proposed measure on the ballot, the city's attorney had to make edits to the original including. Members got new copies around 10 p.m., so kind of a late evening, and the original proposal broke down the new ordinance into 13 different propositions. Groups like Motto Amiga, responsible for implementation in Ground Game, Texas, were worried about a voter having to sift through 5 pages of propositions for the measure. And ultimately, they say City Council is not legally supposed to make changes like this.
But basically, if Proposition C passes, if Proposition F doesn't, it actually makes the law much different than what the voters signed when they signed the petition.
When Lockhart residents get to the voting booth this fall, they will find a multiple-page ordinance that is still longer than the petition that voters approved but will only need them to cast one vote. The city's mayor called it a compromise.
Build the website you need. Full business functionality. And a design customize every element of your website. and watch your vision come to life in minutes. Access unlimited on-brand image creation and enhance your site's visual appeal.
Developing news this afternoon after reports of thousands of layoffs, Dell Technologies in Round Rock confirms job cuts are coming to certain departments within Dell. A company spokesperson did not confirm a number of layoffs, but in an email told us, quote, through a reorganization of our go-to-market teams and an ongoing series of actions, we're becoming a leaner company. We are combining teams and prioritizing where we invest across the company. We continually evolve our business so we're set up to deliver the best innovation, value, and service to our customers and partners, end quote.
Council meetings aren't usually known for their speed, but today it took less than 10 minutes for members to unanimously confirm the city's next permanent police chief. Lisa Davis becomes just the second woman to hold that title at APD. She spent more than 30 years with the Cincinnati Police Department, where she's currently an assistant chief. Mayor Kirk Watson thanked interim APD Chief Robin Henderson for her service. Watson also thanked City Manager T.C. Broadnax for making this decision a priority. New Chief Lisa Davis told council members her first 100 days will focus on listening and learning to address challenges like staffing and recruitment.
Anything I implement, any strategy that is implemented, will be done through the lens that it has to be effective, it has to be equitable, and it has to be ethical. And it all starts with building and gaining that trust we talked about.
After the meeting, City Manager Broadnax told reporters he is still finalizing Davis's start date, but he says it'll be in September after Labor Day. Meanwhile, Davis says interim Chief Henderson will help her in the transition process. And in fact, tomorrow Davis says she plans to meet with some officers at a command staff meeting just to try to start to get to know them.
It's about as far as that thing bends. Where am I at? Where am I at? Where am I at?
Austin is the live music capital of the world, and many enjoy experiencing a live show, but not all night long. That's the reality from one East Austin man who says the ongoing concerts in the neighborhood's backyard and her neighbor's backyard are keeping her baby up at night. She's been calling 311 for months to make noise complaints, but said they've gone unheard since February. And online forums turn up no shortage of Austinites also struggling to use the service. CBS Austin's Andrew Freeman breaks down their issues and works to get answers from city leaders.
Songs in G.
Leslie Howell says her neighbor's late night concerts can be hard to deal with, as seen in this video here.
Damn, going down.
It's a really helpless feeling when the music's going and your baby's crying and she can't go back
to sleep.
Despite nearly a dozen complaints to
We,
311 since
go back to Europe.
February, she says the city has yet to do anything.
Sometimes my case gets closed like 5 minutes later, and sometimes it'll get closed the next day, but I've never received a call back.
311 is a non-emergency service in Austin, which City Council member Vanessa Fuentes says allows people to report a litany of issues, such as defective traffic lights, most practical theft, and of course, noise complaints.
What I love about 311 is that it empowers everyday Austinites to get involved and to make their voice heard.
These strings are dead.
This service on Reddit has no shortage of people reporting issues, from reports that close as soon as they're filed or reports which are never addressed.
We should not be having any type of delays with getting a City of Austin response.
Austin 311 says this isn't because of staffing. They have 113 ambassadors and 8 supervisors covering the call center. Instead, Fuentes
Sometimes
says
my MIDI
311
foot controller,
have difficulty
MIDI foot
communicating
pedal
with different departments
shuts down.
whose
I think
digital
it's
capabilities vary.
It's my
SBC
understanding there are
dongle.
still a few departments
doing
that
that.
have struggled and been challenged with adopting to the 311 system and
Needs
doing
to be
the appropriate
reset.
upgrades.
We've
I
reached out
turned
to
it back
311
on,
who
turned
says
it
in
back
instances
on.
like these, noise complaints are sent to Austin. We reached out to APD, who told us they would work on telling us they have specific needs. Austin is staffing crisis.
Why might a 311 noise complaint go unheard, so to speak?
It's not just staffing and response times, but it's also going to be oftentimes by the time we get there, there's nothing going on. And so there's not much an officer can do at that point in time.
Fuentes says people experiencing problems should continue following up with 311 and run it up to their city councilor if that doesn't seem to work.
It seems like a
And what we can do as
constant
council offices is then follow up with the city
response.
department to see what
Staffing
the issue
is
or what
low.
the hang up is.
But at
When
this
we show
point,
up, we can't do
Helen
anything.
says she's at her wit's end.
I would
Like,
love to call 311
at what
and
point
know it's going to get
do
taken
people
care of,
generally
but
go,
I just
okay,
don't
this
have that
is not working?
trust or faith
You keep on
anymore.
giving us an
Reporting in
excuse
Austin,
instead
Nina
of
Freeman,
solving the problem.
CBS Austin News.
Because when you're in the private sector and you're working a job and you go keep giving excuses, like, you're going to get cut. Like, there ain't no keeping you on board. pentatonic moves. I've got less than 10 minutes to clock into work. Usually I start clocking in 5 minutes before. And I am not going to be in a position to play some decent riffs, to be honest, at that time. Usually I need to warm up some, kind of have a look through some of the songs I'm playing around with, especially all this stuff up here. You know what? We're going to go check this guy out over here. All right, so that's a lot of volume there. Bring that down some. Bring it a little bit down. Oh, yeah, we got the... program that. Oh man, that sounds terrible by itself. But as it stands with the current mix, let's see. We've got easy bass and easy drummer. So what time is it? 6:52. Did I tune it down? No, I didn't. Got to transpose that down. From there, we go into the solo. It doesn't even go to that riff. Okay, here we go. Let's try that again. Pop that up to standard tuning. No delays, no reverbs. So we gotta turn that off like that next time. Hell yeah, that is more like it. Alright. Let's play another song real quick. I think this one is it. Yeah, this one's more, it's really basic. I need to tune this real quick. We've got less than 30 seconds. Start clocking in. Alright, and then we gotta tune you. E. D is off. The dick string is off. All right, let's rock and roll, baby cakes. Turn me back down to B. fucked up, that song. All right, I've got to get to work. See y'all benches later. Bye.